Last summer, a neighbor stopped me at the fence line and held up a plastic bottle. $18. A spray concentrate for aphids. I asked her how many times she'd used it that season. She thought for a moment. 4 times, she said. Maybe 5. And then she said something that stuck with me. The aphids always come back. Of course they do. Because that spray doesn't fix the problem. It just resets the clock. Here's what nobody tells you at the garden center. Pesticides kill the pests, but they also kill the predators that were already hunting those pests for free. The ladybugs, the lacewings, the parasitic wasps. You spray once and the clock resets. Pests come back first because they breed faster. The very tool you're using to solve the problem is making the problem permanent. There is another way. And it doesn't come from a bottle. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 plants that run a pest control operation in your garden around the clock above ground, below ground, and in the air between. Some of them repel pests directly. Some of them recruit the natural predators that do the killing for you. And one of them, plant number 1 on this list, runs all 3 systems simultaneously for about $1 a season. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where to place each of these plants and why the arrangement matters as much as the plants themselves. I'm Mr. Hope. For 25 years, I've worked with homeowners in their 50s, 60, and beyond, people who came to me frustrated, overspending at big box stores, and tired of buying products that never seem to solve anything permanently. I don't work with chemical companies. I don't take sponsorships. Everything on this channel comes from 2.5 decades of figuring out what actually works in real gardens, with real plants, on real budgets. If you watched last week's video, the 9 container plants that come back every year, you already met a couple of the plants on today's list. But today, we go deeper. Today we talk about the mechanism, about how these plants actually work, and how to arrange them so they work together. Before we get into it, drop your US state in the comments right now. I read every single one. It helps me give you advice that fits where you actually live. Number 7. Lavender, the invisible fence. Most people grow lavender for the smell. That's a fine reason. But the smell is also the pest control. Lavender leaves contain linalool and camphor aromatic compounds that disrupt the chemical signals moths, whiteflies, and aphids use to locate their host plants. Pests don't search randomly. They follow a chemical trail. Lavender scrambles that trail. Moths that would otherwise target your cabbage or your herbs fly through the scent field and keep going. Plant lavender along your bed borders and along any fence line that faces your vegetable garden. You're not trying to trap anything, you're building a perimeter that sends pests in a different direction before they even reach your crops. Hope's tip: don't cut lavender back hard. Trim lightly after flowering, no more than 1/3 of the plant at once. Lavender that's been cut too aggressively loses vigor and the aromatic oils become less concentrated. The stronger the scent, the stronger the fence. Number 6. Fennel, the predator hotel. A single lacewing larva eats up to 200 aphids before it reaches adulthood. A parasitic wasp lays its eggs inside caterpillar larvae, the eggs hatch, and the caterpillar never becomes the problem you were afraid of. These are your most powerful allies in the garden. And fennel is one of the best plants for bringing them in. The flat-topped flower clusters, called umbels, provide exactly the nectar these beneficial insects need. They find fennel. They feed. They stay. And they hunt. One critical note: fennel competes chemically with most vegetables. It releases compounds that inhibit the growth of tomatoes, peppers, and beans. Don't plant it inside your vegetable beds. Place it in a corner of the garden, in its own container, or along a fence line close enough that beneficial insects travel from it into your crops, but not so close that it suppresses what you're trying to grow. Number 5. Dill, the double agent. Dill does 2 completely different jobs. And knowing which job it's doing at any given moment is the difference between frustration and a functioning system. Job 1. Its flowers attract beneficial insects the same way fennel does parasitic wasps that target hornworms. One of the most destructive caterpillars a tomato grower can face. Job 2. Dill acts as a trap crop. Hornworms prefer it. Given a choice between your tomatoes and a patch of dill nearby, they choose the dill. You find the damage there first, and you remove it before it spreads. Dill is an annual, but it self-seeds aggressively. Plant it once, let it go to seed, and it reappears the following spring without any effort from you. Hope's tip: don't plant dill near fennel. The two cross-pollinate easily, and both lose their characteristic flavor as a result. Keep them on opposite ends of the garden. Number 4. Yarrow, the pest control tower. If fennel and dill attract 2 or 3 species of beneficial insects, yarrow attracts nearly all of them. Ladybugs, lacewings, parasitic wasps, hoverflies, predatory beetles. The flat flower clusters hold nectar at a height and in a form that a remarkable variety of beneficial insects can access. A single ladybug eats up to 5,000 aphids across its lifespan. Yarrow doesn't just bring 1 or 2 hunters, it opens the door to an entire ecosystem of them. And yarrow asks almost nothing in return. It grows in poor soil. It tolerates drought. It thrives in zones 3 through 9 and comes back harder every spring. Divide it every 2 or 3 years, and you can spread it across your entire property without spending another dollar. Hope's tip: don't fertilize yarrow. Rich soil makes it tall and floppy. Lean soil keeps it compact, upright, and flowering all season long. The less you do, the better it performs and the better it works. Number 3. Marigold, the underground defender. You've seen this one before. If you watched our first video on living mulch, Marigold was already on the list. But today, I want to go deeper. Because most gardeners who grow marigolds are only getting about half of what this plant is capable of. The roots release a compound called alpha-terthienol, studied and confirmed by researchers at Cornell, that is directly toxic to root knot nematodes, not repellent, toxic. The nematode population in the surrounding soil drops measurably over a single growing season. This is the reason tomatoes planted near marigolds don't wilt in the afternoon heat even when the soil is moist. It was never the weather. It was nematodes, and marigolds were quietly eliminating them underground. Above ground, the foliage releases limonene, which repels thrips and spider mites, 2 pests we didn't cover in video 1. The flowers attract ladybugs and lacewings. The sharp, resinous scent actively deters whiteflies. Hope's tip: placement matters more than quantity. 1 French marigold planted between every 2 tomato or pepper plants is more effective than a decorative border of 20 around the edge of your bed. The roots need to be near the roots of the plants you're protecting. Number 2. Rosemary, the aromatic shield. Rosemary is the plant that most people underestimate most completely. The same camphor and bourneol compounds that make rosemary unmistakable in the kitchen interfere with the chemical receptors that cabbage moths, carrot flies, and bean beetles use to identify their host plants. They can't find the cabbage if rosemary is growing nearby. They can't confirm the carrot bed. The signal they navigate by is being drowned out. Plant rosemary near brassicas cabbage, broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts. Plant it near carrots and beans. It pairs particularly well with your cool season crops, which are often the most vulnerable to pest pressure in early spring and fall. In zones 7 through 10, rosemary lives outside year-round. In colder zones, bring it inside before the first frost. Just as we talked about with pepper plants last week, set it near your brightest window. Water sparingly, and bring it back out in spring. The same plant that protected your fall garden comes back out to protect your spring garden. Hope's tip: before you bring rosemary inside for winter, Cut several long sprigs and hang them to dry. You'll have rosemary in your kitchen all winter from the same plant that was working in your garden all summer. That is what a plant earning its space looks like. Number 1. Nasturtium, the 3-layer bodyguard. Nasturtium was number 5 on our living mulch list. Today it moves to number 1 because no other plant in this entire video runs 3 separate pest control systems at the same time. Layer 1. Above-ground nasturtium is the most effective trap crop I've ever grown. Aphids are powerfully attracted to it, given any choice at all. They colonize nasturtium before they reach your tomatoes or cucumbers. When you see a nasturtium covered in aphids, and you will, that means it's doing its job exactly right. Pinch off the affected stem, drop it in a bucket. The plant sends out a replacement within days. Layer 2. Below ground, the roots release glucosinolates compounds that suppress soil-borne fungal pathogens, the same category of problem that causes damping off in seedlings and root rot in established plants. It's a quiet underground defense running all season without you knowing it's there. Layer 3. In the air, the scent of the foliage actively repels whiteflies and squash bugs, 2 of the most frustrating pests in any warm-season vegetable garden, and the flowers, the leaves, and the seeds are all edible. The flowers have a bright, peppery flavor. The seeds, brined green, are a near-perfect substitute for caper, $1 a packet. An annual that self-seeds so reliably it behaves like a perennial, and it does more useful work per square foot than anything else in this video. Hope's tip: try climbing nasturtium varieties along a fence or trellis. A row of climbing nasturtium creates a living wall of pest protection around the perimeter of your garden, above-ground pest interception running vertically instead of horizontally. 7 plants. But not a list, a system, and the arrangement is what makes it work. The outer perimeter lavender and rosemary creates a scent barrier that confuses pests before they ever reach your crops. They scramble the chemical trail. Pests that navigate by smell arrive at the border of your garden and get lost. Inside the beds, marigold and nasturtium handle what gets through. Marigolds work underground, eliminating nematodes from the root zone of every plant beside them. Nasturtium works above ground, drawing aphids away and suppressing fungal disease below the surface. In the corners and along the edges, Yarrow, Fennel, and Dill run the recruitment operation. They bring in the predators: ladybugs, lacewings, parasitic wasps. These hunters move out from the flowering plants into your vegetable beds and clean up what the first 2 layers missed. 3 layers. No spray schedule. No cost after the first season. Total investment to set up the entire system under $25. From year 2 onward, these plants come back on their own, spread themselves further, and get more effective every season. If it's spring, buy a packet of nasturtium seeds, a packet of dill, and a 6-pack of French marigold transplants. Press the nasturtium seeds directly into the soil near your vegetable beds. Scatter dill near your tomatoes, and plant 1 marigold between every 2 vegetable plants. Total cost under $10. All 3 start working within weeks. If it's summer, marigold transplants are available at most garden centers through July. Yarrow and Fennel can go in as container-grown plants anytime the ground isn't frozen. Nasturtium germinates fast in warm soil. It's not too late. If it's fall, this is the ideal time to plant lavender and rosemary. They set roots quietly through winter in cool soil and emerge in spring with a head start. Plant them now, and by the time your vegetable beds go in next spring, the outer perimeter is already established and working. And if you can only do one thing today, buy a packet of nasturtium seeds and a 6-pack of French marigolds. 2 plants, under $8. That combination alone addresses the majority of what pest pressure does in a typical home vegetable garden. When you spray a pesticide, you are solving a problem that nature already knows how to solve, and you're preventing nature from solving it. The predators that eat aphids were already on their way. The plants that confuse and repel the moths were already available. The system that manages pest pressure without a single bottle of chemical it exists. It has always existed, and we just stopped planting the right plants. These 7 plants are not a gardening trend. They are not a product. They are the original pest management system, the one that ran quietly for thousands of years before anyone invented a spray bottle. Plant them once, let them settle in, and then watch what happens when you stop fighting your garden and start letting it defend itself. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 7 plants you're starting with. I read every single one, and next week I'll show you the $0 fertilizer system I've been running for 8 years. No bags, no bins, just 4 ingredients you're already throwing away every week, and exactly how to turn them into the best soil amendment your garden has ever had. If this video helped, subscribe to Hope Garden every week. Practical and honest gardening guidance for people who want real results without the expense and the hard work. I'll see you next week. Welcome home.